Let's go. Samantha, thank you for being here and being in connection with us.
Hi there.
And I suppose happy birthday to you.
Yes!
Thank you. Thank you. It's, it's great. And I was like, I was telling my friends, I'm like, oh, I've just been asked to go on this podcast on my birthday. And it's like a little party online. I was like, I'm so excited.
Super nice you're doing this on your birthday. And how was your birthday so far?
Yeah, it's been good. Right. I don't want to butcher your names. So it's Sana
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I'm going Serena. Savannah, right, okay. So we've just been chatting to Savannah. I put a picture on my Twitter. I went to Pizza Hut with the kids, basically. We were a bit naughty.
Nice.
I was like, they've got flu. They didn't have flu, but we went to Pizza Hut instead, and we just had a great time. And we had one of that. I mean, it's probably terrible for you, but do you know those like ice cream factory things where you do your own ice cream and then you put your sprinkles in your juice on? And I was just like, and they weren't coming out quick enough, so I took the thing off and I was like, extra sprinkles for me. It's my birthday. I'm
Yeah,
having
you
the
should do
sugar
that.
because I've not been having much sugar. So it was just like, this is great. And I got halfway through and it was just like, I feel so sick.
Well, it's a great thing to celebrate, like big.
I had, birthday gluttony tummy. It was lovely. It was lovely until then. So it's been, I've had a great, and I've been to see my dad. And he makes these things on the stage. I mean, it's just been a day for food. So I'm going to have a fast tomorrow. But yeah, he calls them cheesecake. So it isn't cheesecake like the dessert. It's like cheese, potatoes, and he does them in a certain way. You put anything you want in, like really, stinky cheese is great. And then you can, like the blue cheese, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you wrap them in breadcrumbs and you fry them, and they're really like, terrible for you, but they're delicious. So I have them. It makes them great. So I've been and had that. Been out with the dog and just had lots of birthday messages from my friends. My friend sent me a little rap he did, which was lovely. And
You guys,
I
you guys
feel
did a rap?
I didn't rap. I can't rap. I can slightly sing. I can hold a tune. But
Okay.
if I can't,
He did a rap?
he did a rap for me. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah. So I love that. I mean, I won't tell you what he said in it because it was a bit rude, but
Like a good, fun kind of route?
yeah, it was fun mood.
Nice.
We take the mick out of each other. So I call him lots of names to do with sausages and stuff, and he calls me lots of names to do with clams.
Well, sounds like a fun friend.
Yeah, and a fun birthday.
Yeah, so he sent me a birthday clam wrap. So thanks, Steve, if you watch this. It was great.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice.
Anyway, on that note, so I am absolutely bonkers. But if you could probably tell me on my Twitter, so I do. We were talking, weren't we, Savannah, about all the different kind of things that I'm in. So I am really quite a spiritual person. But what I tend to do is I wrap it up in this layer of humour. And what that tends to do is it disarms people. Because I think when you meet people and you're talking to them, we all have these layers, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't really start as a conscious thing. It's just something that I'd noticed as I've done it. And I think we have we just kind of figure it out as we go, like in our personality. We're like, oh, this works, this doesn't work, who are we? And I've always been kind of fun and bubbly. But what I've noticed is if you shock people, you kind of go, oh, and almost they're not expecting it because I am really, really like the most. I don't know what you'd say. I'm not a conventional person at all. I talk about poo. I talk about sex. I talk about bodily fluids. I talk about all sorts of stuff. Trump, whatever seems a bit like socially.
I love that Trump is in it.
Oh yeah, talk about Donald Trump as well. Donald Trump's great. We call them, so in the UK we get this, the Americans live this, we call farts Trumps. So when Donald Trump is technically Donald Fart in English.
Is that it's a British thing?
Yeah,
Wow.
maybe it's a northern thing. Yeah, we call a fart a Trump.
Nice.
Okay. Well,
And yeah.
So Donald
Fitting.
Trump is Donald Fart. It's a big orange fart.
Nice. Look.
So you see, that's the thing. So
Yeah, I get a picture.
you have to keep me on topic because I've got a bit of ADHD. So I go all over. I've got all sorts of things going through my head. But yeah, so what I use humour, and all that actually does is it diffuses people's kind of walls almost. So you can talk about all sorts of stuff. So people will come and find me on the twits, and they'll be talking about, because I talk about sacred sexuality, I talk about my dog eating my toilet roll and having the poo, all sorts of stuff. That's just what's been recently. And then I'll be like, boom, healing, boom, inner work, boom, spiritual war. And they're like, oh. And I just punctuate them, I just drop them in. But they find people and they find who they're meant to do. But if you're having a conversation with somebody and you can wrap it in a bit of humour, it's almost like a delivery system, and it gets past the conscious barriers to people's mind, and they
Yeah.
might go, oh,
Yeah.
didn't expect her to say that. I wonder what she's saying. And they're a bit more receptive to it. Or you can wrap certain spiritual truths in a bit of humour, and it starts to peel back those layers and kind of permeate their being almost and their consciousness. And it just settles. And even if they don't take it, instantly respond, what you can do is plant seeds. And that's what we were kind of talking about before with the lighthouse. So I was saying to Savannah, kind of where I think I am at the moment is I've got a group of people and we all do kind of podcasts. We all kind of came together and we've become really good friends. And I'm not sure how much I'm meant to say it, but we're all kind of we'll put it this way. We're all the same sort of elk. And we've come here for a certain reason. And at the moment, the point is for spiritual refinement, self-refinement, healing. Because the thing that I will say, the more healing that you do, the more introspection that you do, the clearer your channel, the more cohesive you are, because you're balancing
100%.
your physical body, your energetic bodies, your mental bodies, your emotional bodies, and you're removing those blocks. So the distortions within you are slowly being removed. So the information that you're then bringing through is clearer, it's purer, it's more aligned. You're more aligned. And what that also does is it helps you to heal the nervous system, because that's essentially what I feel like is a problem with a lot of issues in society. We're in this kind of state of like nervous dysregulation. We're all kind of tapped into that, what's it called? Go on, what's it called? Not parasympathetic, the other one. Or is it and
There's sympathetic and parasympathetic.
that's the one. So it's not the one that relaxes you. I always forget, I get them mixed up. But it's the
I
the
do
fight
too.
or flight one, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So we're all kind of in that state on different levels because we've got all this cortisol coursing through our system. I used to be a nurse as well, by the way. Terrible with terminology. So we've got all these stress hormones. We're all kind of in this like kind of agitated state, and we begin to get disease, and we accumulate all this kind of tension within us. And when your nervous system is dysregulated, you're very reactive. You're prone to things like anxiety, depression, whole plethora of other issues, and you become easier essentially to control. And even just being on our phones all the time puts us in this state, I think. We're in the constantly wired state, like this dopamine addiction, we're clicking, short attention span. People, I mean, especially the kids, you look at them and you're like, my children are terrible. I've got to like yank, I'm terrible really, I shouldn't have even given them, but I've got to like yank the phones out of the hands sometimes and say, come on now, let's go walk the dog or whatever, because they'd just be like, zombie nation, really. And it's all by design to put us in this state, because when you're like this, you're checked out. You're not present with yourself. And that's what healing does. You become more present, you become more coherent. Your nervous system isn't constantly on edge, you're relaxed. And that's when you can really start to bring in the higher wisdom and the higher knowledge and really hold it and integrate it properly.
Wow. Yeah. I 100% agree with you that like the awareness is so important. And so beautiful how you started with the humor part, that it's a delivery system. It's something you, Serena, just now like grounded more and more for yourself. Actually the last 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Like I've loved humor all my life, and I didn't realize how much of a role it plays. People I've like held spaces for, and they've like talked to me about like their mental health and stuff. They have repeatedly always reflected back to me how much they value laughter. Like we go through the darkest things like that human people have gone through, but like I'm being myself with them through it, and I can't help but see the funniest things in some of those moments. Like I'm being deeply empathic, but like sometimes wordplay comes and it just makes like it really brings like such a real light to like such a dark place. But I never made it like a thing in my mind up until recently that I was like, I think I should start doing skits. Like instead of like standard explainer videos of like, oh, here's a concept that like no one basically wants to sit through, because we're all doing stuff during our days. Like we're not, if we're on X or something, we're probably not looking to like directly learn. But if you can make me laugh and there's something there for me, like great, I think. So yeah, it's been on my mind much more directly recently.
Yeah, I love that. I think what it does is as well, like when you're with somebody and they're having a really, really dark time, obviously you need to explore that and you need to feel the feelings. But sometimes what you really need is because we get in these thought spirals, don't we? That's the thing. So whether that's just because we're in our own way or there's entities or something that's causing that. So obviously we talk about loosh and they basically feed off that. So they want to make an issue that you might have even worse. So if you've
What was
got
the
a
word you
wound,
used? Lucian?
like a loosh,
A loosh. Ooh, what's a
loosh.
loosh? I like how it sounds. What's
Wow.
what's a loosh?
It's not like a loofah or anything. I do like it though. Loosh. So loosh is like, I am a crackpot, I'm sorry. Yeah. So loosh is basically a name for, so an entity, like an occult hostile force, something that wants to come in.
All right.
What they do is they feed on they get it. So to get into your field, you have to have an opening basically. So all the traumas and the things that we've got, like we might have subconscious programs, like for instance, mine's rejection. I have a really big rejection trauma that I've been really working with. That's like a lot of us will have like one really big core wound and it will attach to lots of different parts within our lives. So what will happen is they'll come in and say if you're in a relationship with somebody or you've got a friendship or whatever and like something is going on, they might be like, they're opportunists basically. Oh, there's an entrance here. And you might start to have these thoughts. And this is why it's really important to start to be aware and monitor the things that you're thinking, because half of the time they're not even yours. It's just a stream of consciousness coming through you, and whoever's affecting that, it's really picking apart and saying, is this unconscious? Is it an entity? Is it, because you can have different parts within you as well that fracture off, but we'll talk about that later if you want. But so the entities come in and they'll make the feelings and emotions that you've got really intense, and they'll feed like ideas into you, like, oh, for instance, my friend doesn't like me. She hasn't rang me. What's wrong with her? Or they've not invited me to this party that, and all these, like, you can kind of catastrophize. And then
Hmm.
what we call is like, you might start to spiral out. So it gets worse and worse and worse. And then you feel all these like emotions, and they essentially, loose is the energy released from negative emotions that they feed on. So this is another thing with the humor. When you're in a thought spiral like that, you need to stop it. It's very difficult to do. So this is where when you were saying about the awareness, we were talking about politics earlier, weren't we, before we came on, and there's different levels of awareness that you come at things from. So if you're aware of your thoughts and your own kind of internal being, and you know your base state, when you start to feel yourself shift out of alignment, so you're not balanced anymore, it starts to affect the nervous system. So you might start to get, pain in the chest. You might have shivers running up your spine. I sometimes feel like this compression in my spine, basically. And I'm like, what's that? Because I've done a lot of kind of somatic work. So I'm used to the feel of my body. And then you can trace it back. You can see what's coming up. And what will happen is you can start to see these thoughts and things come up. But if you're not at that place, because it still even happens to me, sometimes I'll spiral out, you need something to stop those thoughts. So if somebody's coming to talk to you and they're having a crisis and they're like, my life's in a mess, I don't know, my wife's left me or my husband's left me, I've lost my job, my house is going to get repossessed. You can't actually fix those problems there and then. But what you can do is give that person almost kind of like a reality check. And that's where humor comes in. So you can still be sympathetic, but the right time joke, obviously if they're receptive to it, will just break that. And when you start to laugh also, laughter's great energetically, because it releases like tension and energy in your field. So if you're aware of it as well, so what I like to do is if it's like almost like a type of therapy, you can just start to laugh and you feel it, and you can if you can feel your own energy body, you can move it through your field, and it starts to clean yourself. And because it's kind of like that really nice vibration, it lifts you back up, so it can snap you out of those thoughts. And what that will do is it's not going to take away the fact that your wife's left you. Your house is going to get repossessed, or what any of the problems that you've got in your life. But it gives you a neutral mind. It gives you a fresh platform to see things in perspective. So it's poo. Stuff in life is poo. We all have to go through pain. We all have hardship. We were talking about death reverse cycles earlier that can be very difficult to kind of navigate. And humour will help you do that, because if you laugh at yourself and you don't take it too seriously, it doesn't have as much of control on you. It doesn't have as much of a sway on your life. And you can look at things impartially and say, okay, this isn't great where I am now. Maybe I need to do some reflection. But what's a positive step I can take? Right, I'm going to lose my house, but I can get a house somewhere else. I've got a friend I can stay with. It's not the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? And it starts to give you that fresh perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and for me, sometimes I'm not sure why, but there definitely has been a pattern of some of the biggest breakthroughs in my life so far, where I've like realized something that has been like really profound for my own psychological development and like my understanding of myself and the world. It has literally come at me poking with a joke at my own self. I'm kind of like saying something that I think would be hilarious at my own expense. And then I'm like, wow, that's so fucking true. And then it like a paradigm shift occurs through me having, I literally thought I was just making a joke at myself. And then I was like, wow, that there was some deep truth there. Yeah, so that's been like, it hasn't been just relief. It's been also like a medium for delivery of specific types of information that I may have like not. And also maybe there is also an element that like sometimes truth is just funny.
Yeah.
It just really rings true, but it's like that's why I'm laughing. It's like it's funny.
No, absolutely. And it's like, so I've got, to be honest, I have really dark humour, and my sister has as well. So I mean, we are the kind of people that do giggle at funerals. I'm not going to lie.
Putting the
I've
fun
been,
in funeral.
we laugh at funerals. I went to a funeral a couple of years ago with my friend, and it was a nana that died, and she was having a terrible time. And I kept making silly jokes. I mean, and it got to the point where we were absolutely piddling our pants at the middle of this service, and her mum turned around and went, shh. I mean, we're like, and I know it's terrible because I
You
mean,
go
we're
like,
not poking.
I'm dying over here.
Yeah, you're not being silly.
I got one more.
Go
When
on.
no one's laughing at the joke you make at a funeral, be like, guys, who died?
Died? What's wrong with you? Have a sandwich.
Cold room.
Bit stiff. No,
Yeah, a little bit.
good. Yeah, it's a.
Don't kill me.
Yeah, I can't even remember what we're saying there. I've lost my thread. Yeah, so dark humour basically. So my sister's terrible for it. But it's just not taking things seriously, isn't it? If you laugh at them, you're essentially taking the power away from things that have got, the power that things have got over you, basically. And I think this is the problem when people get really offended. It's a choice, isn't it? Somebody could say really horrible things to you, and you could take it really, you could internalize it and say, do you know what? That's horrible, and become a bit of a victim, or you could just laugh at it and go, that's fucking hilarious. Can't even believe you said that. And then just fire something back. Do you know what I mean? It's all perspective. It's all how you handle things. I mean, everything's a choice at the end of the day. So you either choose to be offended or you choose to do something about it. And if you choose to make it into a joke, do you know what? I take my hat off to everybody who does that, because the world would be a much better place. I'm not saying that there isn't a time to be serious, because there is. But yeah, humour, it lightens the load.
Yeah, I think it's I was talking to Serena today about like Serena, you sometimes just people don't respond to fun comments you do on X, but like creating something funny in like a heated conversation, where you disagree or where people, yeah, really, really get all fired up about something you said. It's like a creative act to like make something of the momentum that is there and then put that into a form, and the form is like something funny. I see that as very artistic, actually. And it's like a fun, it's like an awesome way to do something with the things you did sometimes thrown at you. Yeah, I really like it. I see you guys have the gift of that more than I have, I feel. But like I will
Yeah.
practice. I will practice because I really understand what you're saying, and I use it. I use humor, and I also like see, like when I'm teaching, students sort of look at me like she's crazy, and actually like to get to that effect. So I'm not afraid of seen as crazy anymore because I really think it's important to, yeah, be the crazy one, and then like loosen things up and get people on the fun side of things. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, super nice. But you're an inspiration, Samantha. And Serena, you too, but you know that already. But it's super, super, super nice to hear this, and it gets my attention more to like seek it out more.
I could have cried a bit when that was lovely. You too, honestly. You're just absolutely adorable, aren't you? You re- you are like couple goals, seriously. Yeah, how you look at each other, it's amazing. But I think you're right there. Do you know? And I think being creative, humor is creative, isn't it? It's a creative form of expression. We talk about art. Art for me, my kind of idea of what art is, it's just a way to express the internal externally. That's essentially is, and we're all anyone who's a real artist, we're all a bit weird, we're all a bit quirky because we
Yeah,
don't. But you know, it's just part of the course. But if we were going to go and look at something that was normal, it wouldn't really be that interesting, would it? For me, that's the
yeah,
whole point. Like you go and look at people's work that they do, and you want to kind of deep dive into their consciousness, and that's kind of what I look at people when they do stuff. It's like, oh wow, it isn't just, you know, if you look at somebody's work, this is light, this is dark, this is the shading, this is the shape. It's like, how have they interpreted real life, if it's like super realism or whatever, and put that on paper? Or how have they, if they're doing something surreal or like a sculpture, how have they seen something and put it through their own lens and then put that back together to create this piece of art? So it's almost like a bit of a psychological tool as well, because this is what I'm all about like psychoanalyzing people. So you get like a snapshot of someone's inner life by
yeah,
looking at their art. You're looking at their
yeah.
thought process. You're looking at their subconscious almost, because that's what they're putting on the paper or they're making with the clay or whatever they're doing, you know?
Yeah, and it's so beautiful because that is that is one of the parts, and often it's a thing that you cannot say or are super conscious of, but you can create a thing that resonates with what's already living in you. And then it's awesome because then it also resonates with the time you're putting it into and the people and the context. So it's like so many facets of art are such amazing like mirrors for like the receptor, for the maker, for the receptor, for the context that it's put into, and for the like the times that it's created in. So art history is therefore also super awesome to look into the past in that way because it's different reflections than like the normal history books, but also artists who are like sort of ahead of times, or like sometimes it seems that they see more and they feel things out more than your average people. And I really love that about art, that it's such a connection in layers and layers and layers, from the unconscious of the maker to also something that is not conscious yet in the receptor and in the context, the wider context. Yeah,
Absolutely. And that was beautifully put. And I love that. What I really loved about that was that you were talking about how it's also a snapshot in history. So you could look at, I don't know, I mean, like I said, I'm not very good at art history. But you might look at Picasso or Georgia O'Keeffe, and you look at the disparity of when they were around and the movement as well. Like, you know, because there's like surrealism, there's cubism, there's all that kind of stuff, isn't there? Um, and it's looking at what was popular and how they've used that. But also, like you said, there's a there's a cultural element in there. There's the element of like what social standing were they in. It's like it is literally a snapshot in time. It really does give you more than what we might have in the history books, because when you start to unpick that, there's the political elements in a lot of it, there's the social elements in a lot of it, and it really gives you a deep dive. And even I suppose if you're looking at something from like an energetic perspective, everything that we do, whether it be words, written or spoken, or anything that we put out from the internal, it all contains these kind of frequencies and codes. So you can go and see a Van Gogh or whatever in person, and it will be encoded with information from Van Gogh.
Mm-hmm.
You can go and pick up the frequencies from that, Like there's, like you were saying, there's so many layers to that.
Yeah. 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 And then it's, yeah. And then teaching that kids like need to express themselves also, and that we need in the educational system time and space for these things, because we cannot forget that we are makers. So we as humans, we are creators, we are makers, but lots of people have forgotten about it. And it's so lovely, Samantha, to meet a person who hasn't forgotten. So that's really, really nice. And yeah, I think it's important that we like spread this like realizations that in the arts there are super important things to discover.
Absolutely. I mean, you touched on a really good point there as well about the creative process. And the thing is, I mean, I don't know what kind of backgrounds you guys have got in spirituality or whatever, but we talk about the power of now, don't we? I think Eckhart Tolle did a book called The Power of Now. I've not read it though. But I've kind of come to that realization myself. We're in the now moment, aren't we? And that's where we create from. And the creative force, it goes hand in hand with that sexual energy in a way. It doesn't have to be like perverted, because we've all got, even from being a young child, you've got creative ability. It's just that freedom, isn't it, to express ourselves. But that's how we become free and sovereign, because we're not doing things that we've been told. We're not in the place where we're in these rigid structures, because that's the antithesis of creativity, in my opinion. It's going out and allowing the curves and the shapes of ideas to come out freely. And that's how we really start to tap into that now moment, So it has a dual purpose. It also starts to set us free on lots of different levels, because when we're being creative, we're moving into flow and alignment, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
So you start to bring in those different energies. You start to open doors. You start to move those trapped energies within your sphere. So be that in your home, your friendship circles, and it brings in new life, because what can tend to happen is you get stuck in these rigid processes. And we talk about like these rules and these straight lines, because there's no straight lines in nature really, is there? And it's all about the flow and the curve and how things fractal out and they all connect. And that's what we're
Yes.
doing when we're getting into that creative space. It's really beautiful and it's really healing. And it's also really spiritually enriching.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. I love that you say it's the curves and shades, so you make it so tangible and so artistic already in the words you choose. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I am a bit of a wordsmith. I'm not gonna lie about that. I suppose it's a bit of synesthesia, because I feel words.
Right. Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm quite empathic. So when I used to do like poetry and things, it's almost like words are my paintbrush. So I might not specifically use a word in the way that it was intended to. I like to mold it and like kind of use it as clay, almost. We were talking about sculpture.
I super appreciate that. Yeah. You have that tendency too, Serena.
I love words.
Yeah.
Oh,
Words
you're a
are,
wordsmith too. Do you do poetry?
I don't call it poetry, but yeah, I think of it as being accurately representing my soul. So, and yeah, it tends to work pretty well.
That's
Can
awesome.
you,
What? Go on, sorry.
Serena, can you share your definition of art?
Sure, it's meditation expressed.
I like that. That is really good.
Yeah.
'Cause it is, isn't it? It is, because it is absolutely, it is meditation. Because you're in that zone, aren't you? You're in the no mind.
Yeah. It's two parts to it. First part is about coherence, like increasing coherence, like not and it's always relative to the artist, right? So like an artist finds themselves in a moment and then it's kind of like their task to be coherent in that moment, whatever the context is, like you were talking about, like the
Hmm.
snapshot of that moment. And there's a reason why not every person who expresses themselves we call an artist because they're not doing it coherently. So the meditative aspect is key. And then the expression part is key because not everyone who's like meditative actually gives expression to their state and experience. So, but when you do both, it's like artist.
Yeah, I love that. That is a really good way to look at it. Um, I actually moving on because I can't even add anything to that because that was brilliant. Um, you're both amazing, honestly. I did want to get into what you were doing with the mushrooms. So you said that you'd moved, didn't you, from Canada to the Netherlands because you could do that legally, you could facilitate that. Because obviously we've not really had a very much, have we, before now? So it's all kind of getting to know each other. I mean, it worked really well, though, I've got to say. But I'd love to hear about that and like your guys' journey with that and like the things that you've experienced.
Yeah, well, Sana's journey with it pretty much started when she met me, I think, right, Sana? I don't think you had
Yes.
experience with that prior at
No,
all.
not at all.
So, yeah. So when I'll start with her journey because it's pretty, it's a nice way to tell the story. In my head, everything is broken down to so much data that it's not going to be a fun journey, but her journey will be fun. So, yeah, we became friends, and then at some point she shared with me that she had this experience with a fear of driving. Yeah, like because she had some like traumatic experience when she was like a teenager, I think, right, Sana? Yeah, and then when she would try to like be behind the steering wheel, she would like get so intense that she would black out. So like obviously it's not a good combo to like black out and
It
drive.
was, yeah, no,
It leads to more funeral jokes if you keep that up.
my goodness.
Yeah, so I was thinking about that, and then I was like, wait, are you serious? Like, this is how long, like, this has been going on for a while. I was like, I think this is solvable. Like, it's just neurons. If we rewire the neurons, we should be able to create a state of coherence within your system to the point where, sure, you might be scared, but like, you'll be able to be a safe driver. So that was my theory. And then I was like, give me, I think I said 12 weeks where we're going to have conversations. In the middle of that 12-week period, we're going to do a high dose experience with mushrooms because the brain does become a lot more plastic and you can shift things. So if you facilitate that like more plastic time, which is the trip itself, during a highly coherent context, so like I essentially control for the space that, and then I control for who's in the space. So usually it's just me, and then it's just one person. So I up until now haven't done groups because I have a high attention to detail. And if you bring in more people, which is super fine, but you're increasing the number of variables.
Yeah.
You don't know unless you sort of like pave the path for that. You don't know how coherent are these other people that you're bringing in. So if you really want to facilitate a high coherence state for someone, you need to minimize the number of variables and then make sure each of them is as high of a quality as it can be. So anyways, then through that journey, we ended up actually discovering something far deeper and far more impactful in Sana's life that we kind of actually put a pause on the whole driving focus because I was like, wow, this is a way bigger deal to focus on.
Yeah.
Yeah, fast forward though, like 3 years, she's doing her driver's lessons now and she has not blacked out. So that's
Still scared, super scared, but also having some fun already.
Awesome.
And my driver instructor is very, very funny. So that is so awesome. And he's so funny that he like makes jokes that while I'm driving, he's putting his hands over my eyes to prove that you don't always have to look to the front. You can also look at your mirror or your rear mirror or the other mirror or over your shoulder because I need to do that. And I always say, no, I feel like I need to look forward all the time because I don't want to lose sight. And then he said, you can drive for like a few seconds without looking. Look. Then he did that. So that was really
Yeah.
funny. So,
yeah,
and it
he's
helped me
brilliant.
learn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's brilliant. I've met him. Great
it's
guy.
the right approach for me.
Yeah, yeah. very grounded, very
Yeah,
sensitive.
and very funny. So I hope I will get my driver's license at some point.
You put a little cross to it. No, but you will, because it's positive thinking, isn't it? You absolutely will, because you're doing it. You're getting
Yeah,
in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
car even though
yeah,
you've got the fear, and that's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
big, big.
yeah,
You know.
Thanks.
yeah,
Thanks.
yeah,
Yeah. That feels good. Yeah,
yeah,
thanks. Taking
yeah.
this in.
No,
So
seriously, take a bow, because that is amazing.
yeah,
Because I
seriously,
can
Sana, it
see
is.
when you were talking about it, I could feel that how when you were on about looking forward, I could feel that fear there.
Nice. Yeah,
So
true.
you're working through that. And I can see when you were on about just having to stare, it's the control, isn't it? So it's relaxing into that, but you will get there because you're doing it.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. This feels good to get these confirmations actually. Thanks so much. Yeah.
That's back to the mushroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, the mushrooms part, they're really great for depth. I literally don't know of anything better than mushrooms to facilitate depth. Yeah, including also like the only alternative I can think of that does anything close to that is like a human being that's like ultra aligned and grounded themselves. And then when you come like face to face, then like your consciousness sort of has to like harmonize with their consciousness. And since they're so deeply grounded themselves, whatever's not grounded within you at those depths starts to like really shake and like bubble to the surface of your consciousness. So basically, it's kind of like having a mushroom trip when you have that kind of a, encounter. And but even then, it's like when the person who's doing the encountering is on mushrooms, then that's facilitated even more. So like they're a phenomenal tool, technology, however way you want to think of it. And yeah, and then also they can also be like as harmful as well. That's very real. Just like the hammers are great for building houses, but you can also like, hit your hand with it or hit someone, whatever. Like all
Yeah.
tools can go both ways. So like if your brain is more flexible, you got to make sure you're taking good care of the context in which you're putting your self in a more like vulnerable state, so that you become very highly impressionable. The brain becomes something like a 3 or 4 year old. The brainwave patterns become very similar, and so you're also as impressionable, and you want to make sure you kind of like set yourself up for a good, home for the kid self that you are, so that you can be impressioned in the way that you prefer.
Yeah, because you're essentially imprinting that, aren't you? That's because they call it neuroplasticity, don't they? Because as you get older, you become more rigid in your thought forms. So I was saying to you before, I've recently experienced mushrooms, and it was very, very recently, probably say in the last month or two. I've had a couple of trips. I started out with a very low dose. I did them on my own,
Good, good. Yeah.
with my friends'
It's
support.
a very, very good idea to start if you're starting, especially on your own. Microdoses and low doses, because you get to get your feet wet. And yeah, that's very, very good idea there.
So I did a couple of small doses. I actually went to sleep, and apparently that's not normal, but whatever. I had
If you're
some
tired, it happens.
Yeah, I just because I mean it was only a gram, so I had some trippy dreams. It was interesting. I came lucid and it was all fun. And what actually happened is, so the first time I took it, I did some because I do Kriya yoga. I was doing some Kriya yoga, and it'd been a couple of hours, and that's kind of I didn't realize that's really when you peak, isn't it? Start to peak. So I was like, I'm just going to go to sleep, and I remembered becoming lucid in this dream, and I was walking down my stairs, and it's like it had become hyper realistic. And I looked to my right, and there's a radiator at the bottom of my stairs. And behind the radiator, there was a TV screen. And it seemed really normal in the dream. And it had got all this static, but the static was like super, super like colourful, like almost like really pops of colour. And I was like, oh, the kids have left the TV on. That's interesting. And obviously, it's all the stuff from the subconscious coming out, isn't it? And then I turned right to go through the door, and I opened it, and I looked inside because it was dark. And there was all this fog, and I couldn't see in. And it was almost like I got this like kind of trepidation. And I was like, I'm just going to put my hand in and see what it's like. And somebody grabbed my hand. And at first it was like
Ugh.
somebody's got my hand. And then it was like, I put it, but it felt warm. It didn't feel like a cold or a horrible hand. And it was like reaching into, and I tried to pull it back, and it wouldn't let go. And then I realized I was like, oh, I'm tripping in my dream. And I came lucid, and I was like, I'm just going to wake up. And then I've obviously subsequently dove into what that meant, and it was all very subconscious, kind of about the unknown. lots of different parts basically were going on in my life. I can see you analysing that.
I am very curious as to the meaning of a warm hand from the unknown being there for you.
I'm scared to see. I was scared to see.
Right. Yeah.
It was a fear of seeing because it was the fog. And it
Right.
was basically saying, we've got your hand. It's we're guiding you, I think, is what I came away from.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I know that when I think about the unknown, there being friends in the unknown waiting for me is not always the or ever the first thing on my mind when I'm thinking about the unknown or like the dark or fogs and things like that. When I don't have like clarity on what's ahead, I'm not thinking, oh, there's friends waiting for me there, which I guess is a pretty good survival instinct. It's nice to keep in mind for it can, I think what it does, and this has been something I've been reflective on myself, that if you're always in survival, you miss out on opportunities because it's just like, hey, don't go out, don't go into the unknown, which makes sense if you think that the only thing waiting for you in the unknown is things that will kill you. I'm like, yeah, okay. But if they're also like lovely things, you'll never encounter them unless you at least move in the direction. You're like, oh my God, there was a warm hand there. Like, fucking great. So cool. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
good. Thank you. But then obviously I'd gone on to have like subsequent doses. So there was a bit of resistance within me to doing it. I was like, I've never done this before. And I think that was the thing. So I'm clairvoyant. So I trained to be a medium about 5 years ago. It's trained to be a medium. But the thing and it's the same like with astral projection. I get to the point where I'm about to lose my body. And then the fear comes in because I don't want to see it, or because I'm quite clairaudient, I hear a lot of things. But it's the visuals that really freak me out, like seeing things, I think. And I do see things and I'm all right now, but I had quite a lot of experiences, I think, like I blacked out when I was younger, of seeing a lot of paranormal call them stuff. I've had encounters with entities and all sorts of stuff that I'd kind of I had a past life regression and yeah, all sorts of stuff that came out from that. But so it was really digging into that fear. And I like what you said about the death thing, because it all comes down to fear of death, basically, doesn't it? It goes back to that. We need to be in control. We need to be in, the fight off. You know what I'm saying, don't you, basically? So it's the fear of death, a little bit. And when you can kind of go past
Just a
that,
tad.
just a little
Just a
bit, just a
tiny
sprinkle.
tad of like getting annihilated. Just a little bit.
But yeah, it is. It's that's what it is exactly. The fear of annihilation. But it's a collective fear, isn't it, that we've all got? Because we're all we're an empathic species. So we've got these themes and these archetypes and these collective fear responses, and they are ingrained within the human psyche. So the more of us that start to unpick that, because we're all a collective species, it starts to also help heal the collective on a level.
For
And
sure.
this is how we ascend, basically. This is my theory anyway. So yeah, so I did more mushrooms essentially. And so not properly trips, but I have had a few issues. So I'm actually planning to have some more on Saturday. So I've had a break for about 5 weeks,
What
four
do you mean
weeks.
by properly tripped, Samantha? What does that mean?
I mean, like I'm going to take a larger dose.
Got it. Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah,
What you've described is proper trips as far as I'm concerned, and I've
yeah.
done very, very high doses, I assure you. So, yeah, they're all trips. If you reflect on them, then they're meaningful. Even the lowest doses can be super meaningful.
Well, I took 2 grams. So the problem that I had is I had a lot of internal visuals. So if I shut my eyes, I was very in the moment and I had lots of beings that came to me. I had like mantis beings. I could see the dimensions moving, but it was internal, I could see the movement. I've also got a friend that I'm really close to and we did it together. Obviously we weren't together in the room, but we have quite a telepathic connection and that really heightened the experience. So I actually wanted to ask you about that. Is that normal?
What?
If you're connected to somebody, like even if they live like thousands of miles away, and you do it together, that you would see each other when you're
Yeah,
tripping and
I don't know, but I will say that I have encountered this sort of thing, and I've been encountering it more and more in the past recent while. And yeah, it's become a growing curiosity for me. It was not like a curiosity at all. For me, it was like more the what I would think of as like more mental and nervous system healing was more the interest. But like
Yeah.
these things have sort of like crept in. Like the more I think cleared my system has become, perception of things that are a little bit more subtle than the basic five senses has become more apparent and like
Yeah.
kind of like unavoidable. I'm not trying to see, and like it's like they're just there. So yeah. There's definitely like a lot more about the physics of reality than just what we can pick up via the five senses. So yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah, that's really interesting actually. I mean, the big thing is I took this dose of mushrooms. Um, it was about two grams or so, and my friend had taken some as well.
Same time, you guys synchronized it?
Yeah, kind of pretty
Interesting.
much the same.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he took his with MDMA as well.
Okay.
But the energy that I felt was was like supercharged basically, and it was really uncomfortable. And I went through this massive like it was like I was dying. I had to go, I'm gonna die, it's all right. I'm gonna die, it's all right, and like constantly release it. And I felt like I kind of wanted to leave my body, but there was fear there as well. And when I was coming down off the trip, because it was just like really intense, and I had this horrible stomach ache, which is what I've had twice now with the slightly higher doses. I've tried the lemon tech, I've tried ginger, and I think it's emotional, basically, that it's bringing up, and I'm finding it as a discomfort within the stomach area. So that was uncomfortable, but it was the sheer amount of energy. It was like I was vibrating. So there's all these internal things going on. I was vibrating, and he had this because he's been doing psychedelics years and years and years, and my other friend had done it as well, but like at a much lower dose, and it really intensified everything. But when I'd done it, when we didn't do it together, it was completely different. And then I'd done a larger dose, and he did a micro dose. And his microdose was just like off the charts because I'd done it as well. So we kind of like, I don't know, it's like energetically building each other up almost with our doses of mushrooms. So we're gonna try and do one in November together and just see what happens. I think is a bit of an experiment. It's a bit weird. But I didn't
No,
know
I
whether
like.
that was a normal thing to happen or whether that was just a bit odd.
So what exactly happened? The energy was intense, is that right? And then did your friend experience anything on his side?
Yeah, so he saw me in the astral.
Okay, well that's relevant information.
I felt him with me all the way through the
All right.
trip, and
Yeah.
I was there with
Wow.
him. He
All right.
remembers because he's more proficient at it than me, he's been doing years. But yeah, I found it very uncomfortable because of the sheer energy, but I could feel
Yeah.
his energy as well as mine
Sure.
because he was there with me, and
Yeah.
it was just ridiculous. It was very uncomfortable.
Sure. Yeah. What was uncomfortable?
It was like I was being forced out of my body. I felt like I was going to explode.
Hmm.
And when I've read, because it's funny, because I think these things come to you on purpose. I'd started reading this book in DMT. So
Hmm.
I was going to do DMT,
What's the
and I
name?
thought, no, you what, sorry?
What's the name of the book?
I can't even remember. It's
Spirit
DMT and
Molecule?
Spirit Molecule, yeah.
Nah, Eric Strassman. Nice.
That's the one, yeah. Absolutely. So because he looks at it from like a scientific perspective, which is really good. So he goes through all like the bias and the rigmarole that he has to, to obtain it and how it's pure.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
talks
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
the setting, and it was great before I even did that. So I had that as a background. Then when had that experience, I went and read a bit more of the book, and he actually just went straight on to talk about you have the stomach problems with psychedelics when it's like resistance, basically. There's some kind of emotional resistance. That's what he's found in his research, which made a lot of sense. But he also talked about when people have DMT experiences, they get this initial rush, and before they're about to pop out and take the consciousness where it's going to go, it's this massive internal pressure, like they're almost going to pop. But it was like that for a couple of hours. It was horrible, actually.
Yeah. Interesting. Now I'm reflecting on all of my own experiences because um, I have experienced a lot of different types of pressure and certainly discomfort through these experiences. I just didn't give it any sort of second thought. I was just like, yep, that's me. I'm just uncomfortable in my body, so that's great. But I have noticed also the general pattern that there does tend to be like when the pressure does build, like my most significant like one-on-ones with the divine type of moments have followed directly after the being with that pressure and then being and yeah somehow like being able to be with it and then have whatever is the closest thing I can get to love in response to that pressure. um that has been very helpful. And I think the times when I haven't and I've tried to like run from the pressure, I have not had those experiences that are like a like my awareness expanding type of things. Yeah, I think there's something there. Interesting. Thanks.
And that's good. So I think what you're actually saying to me is, because I was trying to do that, I was trying to melt into it rather than being resistance to it. But it was so intense and so uncomfortable that I just, yeah, it was just like, I did surrender to it, but I was just riding the wave, but it was not a very nice experience. But when I came back down, I felt all this extra space. I cleared loads of stuff out of me. So energetically, I felt clean. So I noted it up. It was almost like they'd gone in with the scouring pad and like scrubbed my energy body clear.
Yeah, yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and also very cool that you up for it, like going to try it again. Yeah. Takes courage.
Maybe I'm just a glutton for punishment.
I have found that to be a useful type of gluttony, actually. And yeah, especially if you direct towards things that facilitate learning, it's a great one.
I think the thing was I went in with it with the intention for healing. So I went in with respect for the mushroom. So I spoke to spirit of the mushroom before I did it. I had reverence. I wasn't just doing it to get off my face. I was saying that, can you please help guide me through this experience? I want insight. I want healing. And I think that's the difference, isn't it? And they gave me that. And all of the experiences that I've had. And I think there's going to get to a point where it's not quite as intense and it's going to become a little bit more pleasant, surely, because I'm just clearing the channel. And that's my rationale anyway. So even if it's bad this time, there'll come a point when I have a mushroom trip when it isn't going to be horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that time is coming for me at some point.
Yeah, because I like Serena, that is like you have had some like really challenging trips.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. In some ways, it actually keeps getting like exponentially more challenging. So that's why I was saying gluttony for punishment is lovely. It can be very rewarding if the knowledge is the knowledge and learning are the rewards you're looking for. It's great. Uh,
Yeah.
the one thing that I want to share with you, just to I don't know if this is good advice or not, but I sort of use it for my own self, so do with it what you will. I try to maximum once every 3 months when it comes to like anything more than like a microdose. And the
Okay.
reason is not because of the mushroom itself, but because our unconscious, you don't know how dense things are. By definition, you cannot know. That's why it's unconscious, right? So like if you knew, then it wouldn't be unconscious. So and the overwhelm is much more like you're in a way like you're more likely to overwhelm yourself and then not be able to do anything with all the stuff that you like exposed your own self to that was already there, but now you opened up all these boxes type of thing, than to like experience a little bit and be like, oh, geez, I don't have enough to work with. Like whenever I've talked with people, I have not encountered a single person that didn't already have something to work with that they were
Yeah.
already aware of. You know what I mean? So I found like if you still want to be quite like disciplined with like I want to accelerate ascend as quickly as possible, once every 3 months still gives you like a lot, like a lot. It might even people have told me that's even a bit on the aggressive side of. I don't do it even once every 3 months anymore. A lot going on, and I feel like life squeezes me enough as it is. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think that's the thing, because like it's the whole integration process, isn't it, afterwards? Because you go into it and you don't really realize it isn't just the trip. It's the whole rigmarole. It's a shebang afterwards. Not only just even the next day when you're a bit sensitive, but like the weeks, because what you're essentially doing is you are pulling that crap out of your subconscious and you're bringing it forward. And even if you don't remember what's going on with the trip, what I've found is it really has started to move things into a very conscious space, and it is uncomfortable. Because what happens with any healing, because that's what you're essentially doing, you're expediting your own healing, aren't you? You're you're changing your internal structures. And your subconscious is like, because obviously the external, in my opinion, obviously, the external reality is a reflection of the internal structure that we've got. And what you're doing is you're dissolving you're making space for your reality externally to change and catch up to the internal work that you're doing, which can look like a lot of tower card moments. I don't know if you're familiar with the tarot, but I like to use that analogy. You know, it's the lightning bolt striking the tower. Everybody falls out. It's reduced to rubble. It's on fire. Everything's burning. And it's essentially clearing the deck, bringing all the stuff to light that isn't serving you, which can be very, very uncomfortable. And that's kind of what I've been going through. I mean, I've been doing that anyway, because I've done a lot of work over the last couple of years. But because I've been doing a lot of work and then I've used the mushrooms, it's given me that comparison. So I can see, again, these death rebirth cycles, what's going on. And my life has gone to shit, basically, because I'm being asked to look at the things that I've been hiding from. It's the things that are in the subconscious. It's the patterns. It's the routines. It's the places where we give our sovereignty away. And that's reflected in our relationships, our jobs, the daily routines we have, the way we make money, all of that stuff. If it isn't in alignment and you're doing this kind of work, or there's something it's got to teach you, what I've found is it will be highlighted. It will just be brought into your awareness. So your car might break down because you've not been looking after it properly, or you've got this subconscious thing about, I don't know, getting from A to B and you're reliant on something. There's lots of different things that can happen. And I've found that lots of stuff like that has been going on since I've done the mushroom trip. And I'm aware of it. And it's very conscious when I'm seeing it. I'm like, okay, that's what you're teaching me. And I think that's important to also be aware of when you're doing it, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, go ahead, Sana.
Yeah, I was thinking, remember that we haven't done it recently, but we had like trips together, and then that was like to strengthen our bond. And then I always
Wow.
like in the trip things were intense, but like the day after, remember that we
Yeah.
had like some intense moments together. Actually, the day after, then I would always say to you, like, oh my goodness, I keep forgetting that the day after is even worse than the whole trip because it's so intense. And it's lovely to hear you say, Samantha, that like it explains it a bit for me, that then things in the system are loose and coming to the light actually, and then we have to deal with it.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
definitely.
bit of like shaking a thing a bit,
Hmm.
then whatever's not grounded, and in like a good case scenario, if you do it well, the things that don't belong get a chance to be looked at, and then you can then kind of like very carefully disentangle it from the things that do belong. So you reinforce the things that do belong. And this is where like careful integration, slow integration, like embodied, loving, conscious, these things are very real, because the things that are like the most hurtful for you and out of alignment with your soul are like deeply coupled and like hugging the things that are in alignment with your soul and are your soul. So like kind of like the last thing you would want to do in the process of wanting to clean things up is to, you know, throw literally the baby with the bathwater. That's that idea. So like carefully looking at things, and yeah, like Sana was saying, like in the context of a relationship, like the best stuff and the worst stuff are like entangled. So like you shake things up and then you get to, and then yeah, we experienced it ourselves where there was a moment where from my side, I don't know if I've checked with you, Sana, but from my side, I felt like I'm with a total stranger. Like somehow all of the familiarity that we had built with each other in like being friends, being partners, in that moment, none of it, and this is during the trip itself, none of that familiarity was there, and I had like a fear response and wanting to, we were camping when we did this, and like I wanted to like leave the tent to like, you know, get distance from this stranger, this person that feels like a stranger. And then I had to basically work with my own self internally in that moment and be like, well, I know she feels like a stranger, but you know she's not. I was like, yeah, I know she's not. It's like, okay, then what are we doing here? Do we just want to run around like a headless chicken, or do we want to like work with things as they are? So I kind of made this agreement with myself that I was like, well, she's not doing anything that like is harming you. I was like, no, she's not. She's just there. I was like, right. Okay, cool. So as long as she continues to be there, want to just do that as well. If she suddenly starts to like do something that looks like it's gonna harm you, take distance. But like you don't need to take distance right now. And then Sana, were you going through like a similar thing in that moment as well?
Yeah, in a different way, because the moments before, I think like time is different when you're in a trip, so I'm not sure, but I think the moments before were us walking and then coming back.
Yeah,
So,
that was a bit before in the trip, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And then in that walk, I decided to stay because I thought, okay, I can. And I think you were gone still, and I was in the tent alone. And then I thought, okay, what? I can now leave. I think I need to leave, or maybe it's good to leave. Then it's, yeah, another idea loaded up in my head, and I thought, no, I need to stay. So that was, but I don't have much words for it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then for us, it became like an expression we used long after the trip, to stay intent. It's like a very simple idea, that like when things feel challenging, and you kind of want to run away, actually, it's like stay intent, like stay within the context of our relationship, and then it's a pretty like it's a very subtle space, where like you're not able to make things better because you don't know how, but don't run away from the thing that you love and you care about just because you don't know how to make things better and it doesn't feel good right now. And don't make things worse. So like stay with it, don't make it worse. It's okay, you can't make it better. Just give yourself a moment. And then that has been like a saving grace for us repeatedly. And it's become like a kind of like a foundation where like our worst times are times when we're just together and we don't make things worse. And that's a pretty neat foundation to have because then you get time to figure things out.
Like that. So I like that for a number of reasons. One, because we're talking about the tent as a safe container for your relationship. So it's a space, isn't it? Even if it's just an idea, you're making a tent a space. Within that, you're together, you're like this still, even though you might not potentially be getting on or there's problems, like you were saying, you're not, it's not actually separate, you're not running away, but you're within that framework. And I love that because, sorry, my dog's not very happy with me. Having a win. Yeah. So you've got this safe container. You've created a mental container essentially. And that then gives you, like you were saying, the foundation to just be present. So even though you can't actually figure it out there, and then we're going back to the mushrooms, because what it does, doesn't it? It dissolves the barriers about what things are. So when you were talking about you weren't sure who she was, that oh she's a stranger, things aren't as fixed, are they? That's what I found anyway. It like dissolves the meaning of what reality is basically. You can look at the bed and go, what is that? It's a bed. I know it's a bed, but what is a bed? Do you know what I mean? What is a relationship? It's essentially getting you to think about things in a new way. It
Yeah.
gives you a fresh perspective.
100%. Yeah.
So what you're essentially doing in the tent, which is this safe space, is being present with each other. And when you're present with each other and you're looking at things with a fresh perspective, you're allowing it to unfold in a new way. So I love that.
It's definitely, thank you, Samantha. It's definitely allowed us to be intentional.
Yeah. But
I
it
made
makes
a
you feel
time.
safe as well within your relationship because you know that the other person isn't going to bail on you because you've
Yes.
got this agreement. So you
Oh my
can
gosh.
safely
Yeah.
sit with those
Yes.
emotions and
Yeah.
that discomfort safely.
Yes. It's this has been a thing I've been like wrapping my mind around for as many years as I've been sort of like exploring things consciously, like how big of a deal these simple little things are. Like it's like, why is it a big deal if a human wa like goes away? It's like, oh, but it is. It's the biggest deal. And especially like it's when you've put your heart into something with someone, what they do with that really feels like they have the ability to like, rip your heart out, crush your heart, leave your heart, and it's like all of it is so very, very tangibly like important to me. And from what I've observed, like it's everywhere for everyone. Like it's not that I'm like it's some different too. It's like this is just part of the human experience. And yeah, it's like little stuff, but how safe people feel with each other, how good of a time they have with each other, how welcoming they are to like new ideas, how able they are to think about new ideas, which like makes the difference between like how good of a time you have, but also sometimes like how to like solve real problems. And how safe you feel impacts that, because if you don't feel safe, you also don't feel safe to explore new ideas. And if you've tried all the ideas that you've had thus far on solving a problem you can't solve, you kind of need some new, yeah, something new has to enter the equation for something new to happen. So yeah, safety
Absolutely.
is huge.
It allows you to be vulnerable when you've got that trust. I
Yes.
think that's what it is.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And to really get into those depths requires vulnerability. And when you're in it, you've made this agreement, you've got your tent. And that what that's saying is, I've got you, even when you're in the depths of your misery, when you're angry, when you're confused, when you need to go into yourself and be vulnerable and raw and exposed. And I see you for who you are as a human being. And I am allowing you to feel that in safety.
Absolutely. Yeah, and really well said.
Yeah, it's so awesome you get it and you relate to it in this way and like reflect back to us in a like, yeah, it's a beautiful mirror you give us.
Thank
And I was thinking, like, when you said, Serena, when you said that little things matter, and then everything gets like a meaning. I also experienced the other way around, where then things go
I'm just
like
going to have to,
south. Yeah,
I'm listening. Go on, I'm just letting me
yeah,
dog out.
yeah, good. Yeah, the other way around was also true. When things go south in my previous relationship, then everything had also a meaning or a weight to it, but then I couldn't figure it out, or things went in the wrong direction, and it felt totally unaligned or ungraspable in a way.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
It
Right.
felt like spiraling the other way around. So you
Right.
can spiral up together and
Yeah.
align more and more, but I felt like I have also experienced the other way around and spiraling farther from each other and then not understanding that what little things matter to the other and what
My God.
other
Yeah.
little things. So the opposite.
Yeah, so like you're pointing out that like when you don't have the positive, it's not that you're in neutral, you're actually in the negative. When you don't have the
Man,
alignment in the
yeah.
little things, it's not that, oh, well, I guess we just miss out on stuff. So it's like, no, you sign up for hell, man. And you
Yeah, like I feel it in my body. It's like anxiety, panic. Like, what does this mean? What does this little thing mean? What does it mean what I feel right now? And
right.
how, and then you strengthen because you feel something and then the other person feels something and then you don't understand and then you're super misaligned. And oh my goodness, it can be such a spiral downwards, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clarity and alignment are heaven sent experiences.
Yeah, because I feel the opposite now and it feels so dense. I'm so grateful for like being on the other side right now and having the alignment that there is right now.
Sana,
Beautiful.
have you ever, in any way, experienced your life going to shit? No, Sana. Yeah, I'm curious because Samantha, you shared some. Like, I definitely had stuff come up for me in my mind. I was curious if Sana, you have anything.
Well, I was like what I just shared was like my previous relationship, which you know, Serena, of course, married to the father of my two kids. And
Two very beautiful kids from a very beautiful man. I love that man. He's a great man.
But it was a terrible marriage. We're good right now, and that's awesome to be parents together. But being married was not good for at least I think almost a decade. It was like terrible.
Yeah, for
And
either of you, eh?
yeah.
Yeah, like it really does go both ways when the alignment's not there.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, isn't it? How long were you married for?
17 years, I think.
Right. So you really did persevere then, didn't you? You even about 10 years.
Yeah. In the beginning was good. Yeah, and then we sort of, yeah, it's a cliche that you lose each other in a way, but we did. Yeah. And you change. You're a different person. Like every so many years, you change, I think. And if you grow together, you keep connected. But if you change in totally different directions and you're not connected to each other in the way that you need to be to grow together, you just grow apart. So that's what happened.
Yeah. I think that's really true. You've got a what you were saying, Savannah, it is alignment, isn't it? And we move in and out of alignment with people all the time. And when it's your closest partner, if you're not both on the same page, it's difficult to come back into that, isn't it? But I think it's looking at the reasons why you're moving out of alignment as well. And sometimes you can rectify it. And sometimes, like you were saying, you're in a good place now. You get on with each other. I was the same. I was with a man for nearly 11 years, and he's the father of my children. And
Mm.
it got to the point I should have left a few years before I did. And the universe basically aligned it so I had no choice but to go. It became so uncomfortable that I had to make that break. And then subsequently, we became much better friends and much better parents because I looked at the quite frictious nature of our relationship towards the end. And neither one of us were really very nice people to each other because a lot of stuff gets in the way. We weren't really on the same page. It wasn't a good environment for the children, really, if I'm honest. I have to be honest about that. I could have done more. We live, we learn, we grow. And sometimes it just has to be that way. And other times, like you said, no relationship is going to be perfect. And the relationships that we have with other people, they are our mirrors. We were talking about mirroring back to each other. And our close, deepest, intimate relationships are our biggest, shiniest mirrors. So there's always going to be things that they're reflecting back and showing us within ourselves that are going to be uncomfortable. So it's being aware of that as well. But I suppose it's how compatible you are and that level of awareness that you were talking about earlier as well, Samantha. I really do think yeah, you have to be compatible in your thinking, basically.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a waffle.
No, it's like a similar experience then that we had. Yeah, and Serena's went through his own
Yeah.
experience there as well.
Yeah, I shared before we started recording that when we came to the Netherlands, I came married to my now ex-wife. And then I actually had a very high dose experience with mushrooms. And during that one, I would love to tell you a little bit about it because it was so interesting what the experience was and then how my life unfolded after that.
Yeah.
Throughout the trip, there was this recurring vision of like, you know, Pac-Man, like the map of Pac-Man. It's like a little black maze, and then there's openings. So there was
Yeah.
like these arrows that were attempting to go in from the sides, like these big white arrows, I think. And then after a while, I realized that it's sort of like like going back and forth in synchronized with my breath. And I, for some reason, had like a lot of resistance towards allowing these arrows to go through this like Pac-Man map, and that was there. And then then it transformed into this like not an arrow, but like this green energy that was there, but same relationship with this thing. And then I was like, why? Why? And for some reason, I felt like part of me was like, yeah, that's just where it needs to go. And then I was like, no. And then I looked into the green energy and I saw like symbols for all of the things that I would like value in life. There was love there was abundance there was health there, and all of it was in the green energy. And I was like, no, we're not gonna allow that actually. And then I was like, why not? And then I was like, I don't deserve it. And then fast forward like, and all of this felt terrible, by the way. I felt really, really bad. And it was like kind of like a slow spiraling into like what felt like a black hole of a experience. And eventually, after like an hour of that, I realized deservingness is like this made up story I'm telling myself. It has nothing to do with my beliefs around deservingness. It has everything to do with I just don't trust that energy. I don't trust that green energy. And I think if I let go of the control I do have over this empty thing that has none of the things that I value. If I let go of the control, maybe I'll get the things that that green energy has, but I might also just get annihilated. And I very much value not getting annihilated over getting annihilated. And then I realized that thing is like the infinite, it's the divine. And I'm like, I'd rather be a hollow shell of a human being than to let you in because I'm going to need to surrender and be without control. Yeah, that was a very and I'm leaving out some parts that were like very genuinely dark for me. But yeah, the depth of suffering was very real. At some point, I will share this part that I at some point picked a fight with. It felt like I picked a fight with God, and I was like, I bet no one's wanted to tell you this, but I think you fucked up, man. Human suffering does not need to exist. You fucked up. You made suffering. I don't know why you did it. You really messed up. And I felt like I'm gonna get like smited out of existence. But I was like, someone's gotta tell him. And I was like, no one's gonna. Everyone's scared. No one's saying it. I'll say it. Fine. And then the green energy looked over at me. It wasn't. It didn't change its mind about like wanting to like flow through me, but it just kind of like looked over at me with a little bit of its attention. And then I instantly realized like the error in my perception. And I was like, oh my God, you didn't create suffering. And when we don't allow you in to like flow through us, we suffer. I was like, oh my fucking God. And then suddenly I was like filled with like peace. And the intensity of the experience stayed, but then there was just like this peace. And I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. So that was the trip. It was like the first time ever. The dark thing I didn't want to mention. It was the first time ever I had like a suicidal thought because the in the trip itself, and I was like I instantly understood, and like my judgment for people who have committed suicide instantly went away. I was like, I get it. If you feel like this and you feel like that there is nothing that can give you a break, I get it. Thankfully, still here. After that trip, I kind of lost everything, actually. Not immediately, but like bit by bit. And I think kind of like that divine part had something to do with it, like me being willing to let go of being in control to the extent that I was of like, because if you're like you have things in your life that don't belong, right, that are not in alignment with you. If you hold on to them because you're like, I'm not willing to change things. I'm not willing to let things change even. You're gonna hold on to a lot of shit actually. And not necessarily that the things are shit, but what they are for you. Maybe for something else, just like literal shit actually. Like for plants, feces are great. It's fertilizer for them. But for us, if we hold it in, it's toxic for us. And yeah, my marriage dissolved simply because I stopped being willing to be inauthentic for the sake of holding on to the marriage. And then I was like, yeah, I guess it's not working. And it's like, what do you mean it's not working? And I was like, yeah, I guess it's not working. I'm not gonna do something that's not me anymore. And then, yeah, the job related things that were there, but also required me to be inauthentic dissolved, and it was, yeah, a dissolution of a lot, and but my life simplified, that's for sure, over time. And then I got an opportunity to, I don't think it needed to go well necessarily, I don't think it was guaranteed to go well, but I got an opportunity to sort of rebuild and do it more in alignment this time around. So that's been my experience with it.
Yeah, and that is literally your life going to shit after a mushroom trip. That is the perfect quintessential. My life has gone to shit. I've been hit with a tower card because it is. It's just that I liken it to you have these mushroom chips, and it's like you're going to clean your bedroom. So to clean your bedroom, you have to get all the drawers out. You have to look at everything. And then it's all just a fucking mess, isn't it? There's just stuff all over. And then you say you have to go through everything and put it back or let it go.
Hmm.
And it can take time and it's a process. And you're essentially reordering your life because your life in this metaphor is your bedroom.
Yeah,
And I liked what you were on about. What I really want to feedback on you about that was when you were talking about the green light being good and you had that realization. And it was perfect because suffering and pain is literally separation from God. Because what we're doing is the human experience, because we're in duality, aren't we? So we descend into physical matter because God is obviously non-physical, and we're experiencing separation from God. And the more that we heal and the more that we move back in alignment with God, the more it's the same with healing, the more we come into wholeness. So essentially what that was showing you is like, when you're going into alignment with yourself, you're going into alignment with your own truth. And truth essentially is God. Truth and God are all the same thing. And that's letting it flow into you. So it's coming back into wholeness. That was beautiful.
Yeah, well said, and thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. This has been great.
Yeah, it's so nice. Yeah, I'm sort of struck by the beauty of all this, actually. Yeah.
It's felt very cathartic.
Yeah. Samantha, I keep thinking how we became friends. Like, given where the conversation is now and where that joke started from, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Actually,
guys, do you want to share? Do you want to share?
I'll leave
I
it
mean,
up to
I'll let you
Samantha.
say if you want to. And
Well, actually, we did talk about humor and how awesome humor is. Well, you had a post and about how when you're making posts on X, you're not writing to anyone in specific. You're there to clear and utilize your open throat. And there was one
I
more
did just put
sentence
that.
after that. Yeah, but my mind immediately stopped making memories after that sentence. And then I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe someone literally just put something about utilizing their open throat. I have to hold back making a joke here. I put that Sherlock gif of he's like, control, control. Like even before I did eventually make a little bit of a joke, I had sent Sana a message saying, hey, look at this post. I'm using all the willpower in the world to not write anything here. And then after like 5 minutes, I was like, I can't help myself.
I think we had further down the exchange. It was like, I knew it'd be all right because I looked in your bio and it said something about having a sailor mouth. And was like, yeah.
Yes.
And then I'd said
Yeah.
something like, it's more it's an invitation as well as a warning.
Yes.
So don't worry
Yes.
about it. It's fine. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, before that though, the reason I actually found you on X, there's a lady on there called Rachel, and she talks about very deep wisdom within relationships and her own experience. She's very about like self-empowerment, and I love a post.
Yeah. I
And
love Rachel's posts. Yeah.
you'd
She's
shared
great.
something on there, yeah, which we won't go into because I obviously don't want to go too deep into that if you don't want to. But it really struck me because that's something that I'm also really passionate about. So I briefly studied Tantra. It's something that I dip in and out of it. But the thing that I really like about Tantra is that you're essentially moving towards wholeness with another person. That's what you're looking at. If you had to put it in a nutshell, it's seeing good within another person and coming back into that unity space and then achieving bliss or a bliss state with the other person because you're in unity basically and finding good in that. So it was a really big subject that's close to my heart, really. And you talked about like the connection that we had with our bodies. And I think this is another thing that isn't really talked about within this kind of society that we're in at the moment. We're so dissociated. And it isn't just in a sexual way. It's just in in an everyday way. But when you start to look at life as yours almost, you see the sensuality and the connection. It goes back to this creative life force because that's what it's all like tied together, isn't it? You see the creative aspect that you're making as you go through your life. So I often laugh with my friends because I once had an experience where I ate a piece of toast and banana, and I ended up having this energy orgasm just because I was like so present with this piece of toast. I was like, oh my God. And you feel it. And I could feel the bliss and the connection and the gratitude. And I was just really in the moment and I was savoring it. And I was like, oh my God. And I had this kind of like almost transcendental experience with a piece of fucking toast. And that's what Tantra is. You're making love to life, you know? And and you
Beautiful.
were
I've never been more turned on hearing someone describe eating a piece of toast. So thank you for that.
next time you have some toast for breakfast, get into the group.
Yeah.
It's all about presence, isn't it? It's feeling that erotic energy within you and that gratitude because God is in everything. And it isn't like God is in his church. It's woven within every aspect and facet of our lives. It's in the table. It's in this conversation we're having now. It just depends how present you can be with it. And that's what Tantra is. you look at another human being, if you're looking at it from a sexual point of view, and you are looking at their perfection as a human being, as an actual emanation of God, for all the bits that we might judge them, for all the bits that they think they're imperfect themselves, they're not. They are beautiful. They are perfect. And that is what is erotic. And that's what the connection is, you know.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely.
Sorry, I do tend to do this. I'll just come out with these random statements and people don't really know what to say to that.
No, and I like it as it is, actually. It's great.
Yeah. And it's more of on a feeling level. So that's what you do. You use words, but you give us a certain feeling, and then we are in that feeling. So then we don't have words. So it's actually very nice.
That's beautiful. Thank you for saying that. It is true. And that's how we connect with people, isn't it, really? When you start to feel those feelings in your body. It's like a kind of empathic ability. So like we're having this conversation now and we can feel the energy between us and it's really flowing and soft and connected and really heart-centered because we're all really in it. And if you can cultivate that with everybody that you meet, even if they're not giving you it back, you begin to shift the architecture of your life because that's what you're going into it with, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. I have some in small experiences with students that like if I shine through what I have for them and what I see is awesome in them, you get more light back. And it's such a tangible thing that you see eyes lighting up and the connection being like almost as if they're amazed that this connection is possible. It's in sometimes in little things, just chatting with people, but then you see, hey, whoa, there's realness here. I can be real too. Oh, this is nice. So you see them like leaning back or relaxing into the connection. And I just love it. So I always try, especially with students, I try yeah, to do that and to have them experience and have me experience these moments of realness. And it's awesome. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's present. It's all down to presence. You're present with them. You see them for who they are. And it's like when you're present with somebody, it's like you've got this watering can and you're pouring it on them and it's feeding them, you know? You're helping them see the divine light within themselves. And
Yeah,
that's
and
what
also coming back to me. So they have the same thing for me. So it's a beautiful exchange then. Yeah.
yeah, you're lighting each other up. Absolutely. That's gorgeous. And the passion for the art as well shines too. You've got that, haven't you? That's the weave that ties it all together.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen Sana teach. It's lovely. There's like a light in her eyes, and also her students. Also, they're like the ones I've spoken with because I was like wanting to like when Sana's not around, I like ask them like, all right, so what do you think of your teacher? You know, like tell me, come on. And yeah, they actually loved her, so that was great.
I can't think of anybody that wouldn't love you, Sana, because she's so beautiful, isn't she? You've got such a
Thank
beautiful
you.
heart.
Thank you. Well, I
And
love it.
I'm sorry.
I love to connect with you too, Samantha. You're amazing. And how you word things and how you reflect things back to us, and get things and then make it more like you add to what we bring forth. Wow. It's yeah, you're an artist in that way, like making things more beautiful. It's lovely. I really love this connection. Yeah.
Thank you. And same, I want to say to you guys, I really do think this was really divinely aligned. Just like the whole way it came together, it was like it was actually meant to be. And I love your openness. You really are. You're great. You're both beautiful, great human beings. I'm probably going to have to hop off because I think my dog might eat me.
Yeah,
Sounds
stop
very
stop it
good.
from doing that. Yeah.
There'll be no more X posts. If not, you'll be denied like my, you know,
No. Yeah.
open throat comments because I'll be dog food. So I'm going to have to go and tend to that before she runs off
Yes.
with my leg. But this has been absolutely great. So don't be strangers, guys, because I love you both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to reach out and I'd love to have you on our podcast because I just think you'd love Kirsten as well,
Yeah.
which is my co-host.
That'd be super
Nice.
lovely. Before you go, one joke that occurred to me, so I want to put that in, which is that you'd be someone we would love to have breakfast with, especially if there's toast, because that would be an incredible thing to witness.
I bring the honey.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Samantha, this has been super lovely. Yeah, it's a super treat. Thank you for sharing yourself and
Yes.
very, very lovely. And I'm kind of actually surprised by how much. So thank you.
Well, thank you for making this an extra special birthday.
Yeah,
It's been great to share it with
happy
you.
Yeah.
birthday once more.
Yeah.
And enjoy your time with your lovely dog.
Thank you. Right, guys, I'm going to say
Yeah,
goodbye.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to hop off this. I'm going to let you close it down and then I'll do it after.
For sure.
I might talk to you